Making you feel
Gaslighting.
crazy? Just saying. Okay. Okay, guys. We are recording live from Studio 202. We're going to be doing some review for our test next block. I picked 3 problems 8, 9, and 10 on the review guide. 8 and 9 are Law of Cosines, and number 10 is Law of Sines. It's the more complicated, ambiguous case. So we're going to do more difficult problems today for you. So we'll start with number 8. We're also going to sing happy birthday to Justin Bieber because tomorrow's Justin Bieber's birthday and he is watching. So
He doesn't even have a birthday.
He has
What?
the same birthday. Gracie.
He's one of the people that doesn't exist?
No,
What are you
it's on
talking
March
about?
1st, not February.
Justin Bieber?
No, he's good. Never mind. I thought it was
Okay.
29.
It's one of my subscribers. Okay, so solve the triangle. So we took this information, just drew a triangle, and then we take a look at it. And we see that we have the length of sides. We don't have any angles, therefore we don't have a pair. So we can't use the law of sines. So we're gonna have to use the law of cosines. All right, so it doesn't really matter where we start. I just decided I'm gonna solve for angle A first. So just chose it. So that is going to be the side opposite A, or A is the side A. So 4 is lowercase a, 3 is lowercase b, and 6 is lowercase c, okay? So we got formula. A squared equals, and then it's b squared plus c squared minus 2 times b times c times the cosine of A. Now we just throw the numbers in. So we've got 4 squared equals, let me do this right, 3 squared. You guys are checking my work, right? I don't want to make a mistake for Justin Bieber, especially on his birthday.
I'm really confused how he's trained.
Okay,
Mine was March 1st.
so do you have a question so far on what I've done?
Then it wouldn't be March 1st.
A squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2 times b times c times the cosine of A. Now, the only unknown that we have when we throw those values in is an angle. So what does that tell us we're going to have to do?
We have to isolate.
We are definitely going to have to isolate it. But at some point, since we're trying to find the measure of an angle, inverse trig. Good. So we're going to subtract these from both sides, and then we're going to divide by the coefficient of cosine of A, which is negative 2 times 3 times 6. So I'm going to do that all in one step. And I haven't done this, but you might have the numbers. I'm just going to write it as 4 squared minus 3 squared minus 6 squared over negative 2 times 3 times 6. Throw that in the calculator. Find the inverse cosine of this value. And I have that. So let me back up here. The measure of angle A should be approximately, because we had to round it, so it's approximately 36.34 degrees. How are we doing?
Wait, where did you round?
Once I found the inverse cosine of this value,
Oh, when you put
I
it in the
rounded it.
calculator?
yep,
Okay.
yep. Now, we do have a pair now. Technically, we could use this pair and do law of sines to find the measure of the other angles. However, it would be more accurate to continue with the law of cosines to find the other angles that way, or at least to find one other angle, and then we can subtract those 2 from 180 to find the third angle. That way, at least, it'll be more accurate. We're not using a rounded calculation and another calculation. Which apparently I was saying, don't tell your physics teacher, but then someone told me last class, was it you guys, that Dr. Ratliff doesn't care about that anymore?
Does not care.
I'm like, okay, all right. So let's go to B. Yeah?
If we did do law of sines, do you think it would be different enough that we would be able to tell the answer?
In this type of problem, it's not that much different.
Okay.
And if you did that on a test, it would be fine. I'm just trying to teach you, like, for the future. Just I want to say it over and over and over again so that when you're in college, you don't do it on something that's like super important and your building falls down or something. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and if that's okay with you guys, erase this stuff. We are going to have to solve for at least one more angle, and then we can subtract those two angles from 180.
I got 117 for C.
Okay, let's do that. So, here, cosine. Oh, I got the same thing.
Oh, yay.
Yay!
Except
Okay.
it didn't add up. Good job.
9 minus. Well, it's going to be close because we rounded them. So,
195 is most.
so the measure of angle B is approximately 26.38 degrees. Then if you subtract 26.38 and 36.34, you get the measure of angle C as what you just said, 117.28. And that does add up to 188. So it's right. So good job.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So if you found angle C next, perfectly fine. Then you would subtract 36.34 and 117.28 from 180, and you get the measure of angle B is 26.38. And again, they're all rounded calculations, so these are approximately. It's an equal sign that's squiggly. Go to the next problem, unless you guys have a question. What'd you say? You're so ready for this? All right, so number 9, the information is presented in a slightly different way. Notice in number 8, we have 3 sides. So we go to number 9, put the information on a diagram, and we notice we've got SAS, side, angle, side. We don't have a pair. This 120 is the only angle that we have, and we don't have the side across from it. So we are going to have to use law of cosines again. Are we good with that reasoning?
Yeah.
Okay, so a squared, solve for a first. A squared equals 1 squared plus 4 squared minus 2 times 1 times 4. I'm just using the formula and just plugging in numbers. Cosine of 120. We're solving for a first because 120 is the only angle that we have, so we'll go with that. If you use your calculator, we don't have to do inverse trig here because we have the angle. We're not trying to find the angle. So we throw all this into the calculator, and don't forget to take the square root because we need a, not a squared. If you do that, you're going to have to round, and you will get a is approximately 4.58. Now, you know what? I'm just going to use that in my next calculation because why not? Once you have this, technically you could do the law of sines because you have a pair. But since we're just working with law of cosines, let's just do it one more time. And as Jonathan just asked, you're going to get the same answer if you do law of cosines, law of sines. And we rounded it, so let's see, C is going to be 16, wait, let me make sure this is right. Minus 1 squared minus 4.58 squared is approximately 21 over minus 2 times 1 times 4.58. It's okay if you don't have this written exactly the way I do. What matters is the measure of angle B should be approximately 49.11 degrees. And then whichever one you solve for first, it doesn't matter, but you should get 10.89. Did anyone use the law of sines or do this differently and get the same values? You want to tell us about it? You ready? Because you could have solved, after you found A, you could use the law of sines to solve for B, and you'll get the same thing. Or you could have used the law of cosines, for example, to solve for C. You could have gotten that first. And you subtract 120 and 10.89 degrees from 180, and you should get the measure of angle B. Yep. So we're trying to find angle B. It's going to be it's following the same formula, right? It's this value is now, let me throw that in a different color. Here we go. Right there. So the formula is the Pythagorean Theorem. So the number across from it is going to be like your b squared. And that's b squared equals 1 squared plus 4.58 squared minus 2 times 1 times 4.58 times the cosine of b. Instead of writing all that out and doing all of the steps, I started with this 4 times 4, which is 16. Subtracted the 1 squared, subtracted the 4.58 squared, which is a 21. Did I write 2.1? No. Here, 21. And then divided by this coefficient that's in front of the cosine. Tell me if I made a mistake somewhere. Stop me so I can erase it before I end the video. Nick, did you want to make a comment or say something?
On the test, would it be okay if the answer's like slightly off on a decimal? Because I did the same thing with the law of sines, and for angle B, I got 49.14, but that's just because of the round.
Rounding. It's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
it's going to happen.
Okay.
Because again, we're using a calculation in a rounded calculation and something else, it's going to be off. So, and that's close enough. Yep. All right, well, good. I feel like we're doing really well. All right, who would like to sing with me up here? We're going to end our video.
Uh-oh. We might just have to have a good back.
Come on, y'all. Are you serious? I have to sing by myself?
Well, we'll sing with you. It might just be you.
1, 2, 3. First of all, I want to give a shout out, Justin Bieber. We really appreciate you supporting our math class.
Oh, I appreciate him not being born on February 29th.
Okay. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you, cha-cha-cha. Happy birthday to you, cha-cha-cha. Happy birthday, dear Justin Bieber, the Biebs. Happy birthday to you and many more. How old is Justin Bieber?
Probably like
I'm
27.
18, that's all I know.
All right.